Hi, and welcome to Six Figure Signature Offers, the place female founders come to create businesses that deliver both peace and profit. I'm your host, Robin Birkin, online business strategist. I built my first six-figure business with a baby and a toddler working just 6 hours per week. And I grew it to multi-six figures, more than 1 million podcast downloads and 1,500 clients before returning to my true expertise and growing this business to multi-six figures in less than 15 months, all in part-time hours. The one secret weapon that's fueled both businesses, a hero signature offer. The kind of offer that turns you from just another face in your niche to the authority, makes content creation 10 times easier, and powers rinse and repeat launches with big pockets of freedom in between. My mission is simple: to help you create a scalable business model that lets you work less, earn more, and build the kind of business that actually feels good to run. So if you've ever wondered how to create easeful yet wildly successful launches, how to get off the revenue roller coaster, or how to juggle being a present parent and the breadwinning CEO, sit back, subscribe. I am so happy to have you here. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today is 2025 wrapped, where I flew, where I flopped, and what I want to do more of. So in this series, it's possibly going to be a bit long. So I'm breaking it up into 2 episodes. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed and tune in. So what I'm going to speak to today was where 2025 was fucked up, what worked well and what I'm celebrating. And then I'm going to speak to the lessons in the next episode. I have 11 lessons that I learned in 2025. Oh my God. I have had so many lessons this year in the business, and I'm so excited to share that with you. And then I have another episode coming up where I'm speaking to my predictions for 2026. And if there's one word that I think really epitomizes everything that is going to be working really well in 2026. When you hear it, you'll be like, I agree. So anyway, make sure you're subscribed is the call to action there. So 2025, the year of the massive lessons and really feeling like I was walking through a bit of a muddy fog. So the context is I ended 2025 on a high. I'd had a $100,000 revenue month. We'd had some great launches. Everything was working really quite well. And then coming into 2025, I knew that it wasn't going to be really a year of growth, a year of doing anything super massive because of this flipping renovation on the house. So when you see what we've done to the house, you'll be like, oh my God, I get it. Do you know what I keep thinking? So number one, we have a pool room that we are building. So we've built a pool that is a freaking stunning pool. And then we have built a pool room, cabana, whatever you want to call it, granny flat, I don't care what you call it, just in front of it. And all I keep thinking is I really want to run VIP days in the pool room and hold photo shoots in this backyard. That is the level of gorgeousness that it is going to be. We get the paving arriving on Thursday or Friday this week, and then I think the paving's going to go down really quickly, and the anticipation is so real. We're having custom beautiful oak wood bench tops in the kitchenette there with a waterfall. Oh, it's got beautiful face brick, it's got character, but it's also got that kind of Palm Springs vibe. Oh, I just want to hold a VIP day with you in that room, or even regular, I don't know what to call it, strategy sessions or coffee sessions in that room. I can't even. You have to just check my Instagram stories. I'm going to start giving really regular updates, and I think I'm going to create a highlight about it. But the level of excitement that I have is so massive for this room and pool area. And then we're doing the big renovation on the house, and that starts this year. And I'm so overdue for brand photos, but I just want to have the brand photos in my house. So that is a level of excitement I feel. The renovation will massively increase the value of our home. So it's a worthwhile investment for us. Obviously, we're going to feel like we have a beautiful sanctuary to live in, and that is super important as well. But it has been so fucking disruptive. Every day, I spoke just on the last episode that every day I have multiple trades at the house. I have tilers, I have the flooring company, I have the pool company, I have the electricians, I have like landscapers, all of these people just constantly at the house using their power tools, switching off the electricity, coming and asking me questions, needing me to unlock random stuff, and things like, I'm not going to go into my backyard and record a reel when I've got a bunch of tradesmen looking at me. So I knew going into this year that it would be disruptive. I did not bank on it being this disruptive, to the point that I am now considering whether it's appropriate for me to get an office space next year. When I hold my next launch, if the revenue from my next launch is chef's kiss, I think I'm going to try and make it happen, because it's so hard to get into deep work. It's so hard to record content. It's so hard to show up consistently, and not have to hotspot from my phone all the time. That deep work. And my daughter's psychologist seems to think that I have ADHD or autism. It's highly likely. If I do, I have a form of hyper-focus ADHD. I can't listen to music. I get very easily distracted. And if I'm completely in the zone, then sure, there could be fireworks going on outside. But in that moment that it takes me to get into the zone, if I can't get into that zone, I'm so slow. But if I'm in that zone, I'm like frantically typing and super fast at everything that I do. So when I am in flow, I am typing super fast, things are getting done at warp speed. But when I can't get into that, or when I'm just constantly interrupting and context switching and stepping away from my desk and supporting other people, I've found it so incredibly hard to do that. So I knew going into this year that there would be some disruption. I vastly underestimated exactly just how disruptive that would be. And so I made decisions, and next week I'll speak to the lessons that I've learned. I made decisions based on the fact that I knew this year would be somewhat wonky-donkey for me. So it was very much a year of integration. So I speak in the mastermind about business seasons. I just base it on 4 different seasons, obviously spring, summer, autumn, winter. And an autumn season is just a season of deep integration. You're going to take some high profit from the business. You're going to cruise along. You're going to really look at a little bit of refinement behind the scenes, your systems, your team, etc. But it's not really a year of necessarily massive growth. It's just doubling down a little bit, or not even doubling down, coasting along with what's working. So I was very much in a season of autumn, and very quickly though was like, oh shit, what I thought was going into it. I mean, I kind of was, but also very quickly at the start of the year, there were critical flaws in the plan. So we started the year and all of a sudden it was just so disruptive. I entered into massive perimenopause, and so I felt really exhausted. I felt really brain foggy, and the brain fog was exacerbated by the fact that I was tired because of this constant disruption with the renovation. So I never felt like I had, kids come back from school holidays and then you're like, right, let's get in the zone, let's do this. And in some ways things kind of did. I think I held a webinar in February We scaled to the highest number of people we ever had in the mastermind. In my mastermind, it's a blend of group support, and I really lean into the third brain concept. The third brain concept is like your brain on your business is one brain. My brain on your business makes two brains. Our brain on your business makes three brains. And then almost like when we put the room into the context of all of these other people working on aligned goals together, it becomes like all of these brains supercharged. Working on your business, you get the insights of their business, but I also really lean into that strategic consultancy vibe because that is what I've done my entire career for more than 25 years. So there is a lot of personal strategy involved. I will go through, I will look at the funnel that I think works best for your business, the messaging that works best. What do we think our launches and our revenue goals and our targets are going to look like? So I put that together into a bespoke strategy for you when you join the mastermind. So with big intakes, we intook, 11 people in September. Then we had, another 4 people join us at the end of the year. And in February, then we had another 5 people join us a few months later. So really intaking a lot of people, but my capacity felt really low going into the year. So very quickly realized that there was a critical flaw. I'll speak to the lesson that I have learned that I am taking into 2026 in terms of how I am radically doing things differently. I'm so excited. I've already made so many changes, but I didn't re-sign in the mastermind that I was part of because I was like, no. And I don't regret it because I wanted a period of space, not only to integrate and to just double down on what I already know to be true, but I didn't feel like I had the capacity to show up on hot seat calls or anything because there was such a limited amount of time. So that was very much the flavor going into 2025, autumn season. Again, highest revenue achieved ever, highest payroll and profit achieved ever. So I will speak to that a bit later when I speak to the wins. But firstly, I don't know about you, but I always want to hear the fails first and what didn't work. So in terms of what was fucked up, number one, perimenopause got me. I am now on the estrogel, the HRT, and it's a life changer, a game changer. My brain fog is completely different. So towards that early middle of the year, there were real moments when I was like, I feel so dumb and I can't explain any other way to think of it. But things like I would get to the car park and be like, where's my car? And have zero recollection of exactly where my car was. I'd be sitting there for 15 minutes looking, just not even looking at the car parks, but just stood still trying to think to where exactly did I park the car and have nothing, empty. And then after 15 minutes, I'd be like, oh my God, it's in a completely different car park. And we'll have to walk to the other side. I would be cooking the dinner and get halfway through cooking the dinner and be like, what was I cooking again? And the kids had this running joke. They were like, ha, mummy just forgets everything. And that was what I was going into. They put me on some other new thing called Veoza for hot flashes. Definitely worked for the hot flashes. Did not work at all for the brain fog. 4 days into taking the estrogel, HRT, just one squirt of the estrogel, I was like, oh my gosh, that doesn't mean I don't ever forget anything, but it's a radically different type of brain space that I am in now that is not led by complete brain fog. It's been a real game changer. So perimenopause hit me, the renovation hit me, and then we kind of from September or just before. It's been just a cascade of stuff in my personal life. So, no, actually, if I go back to the year, if we go back to like April, May, June, I very quickly was like, oh my gosh, actually, I don't have the capacity. We need to start running ads if we want things to happen. I ran an episode about like why I hired a Facebook ads manager. So go and check out that episode. But I was really like, actually, I'm going to need to start bringing in support. So I hired a really great Facebook ads manager. Just couldn't get some of our ads. Some of our ads worked super well, but other ads just didn't work in terms of the low ticket offers. And I feel like I wasted a lot of time on that. So that happened. And then I found out that I was no longer eligible for a particular grant. So one of the best things that I have done for my business was I applied for and successfully received for the last since 2021, the Export Development Grant. So because most of my clients are overseas, US, Canada, UK, I don't know, even we have clients in like Portugal, Spain, South Africa, lots of clients from Canada, lots of New Zealand, lots of my clients are overseas. So I have been, because I've essentially been exporting a service, eligible for the Export Development Grant. It has been one of the best low lift revenue generators in my business. And what happens is I get reimbursed a portion of my spend. So I don't just get free money. I spend the money on things like Facebook ads, and then a portion of that is reimbursed to me. Nobody told me, because I use an agency to run that grant or apply for and receive that grant, nobody told me that I had to have met $500,000 minimum annual revenue just in order to apply. I should have applied last year. So I would have needed to have made $500,000, I think, last year to apply for eligibility to continue receiving the grant. I had no idea that that wasn't a thing. I had budgeted and made spending decisions based on intending to receive that multiple 5-figure grant. I submitted to my agency. I was like, here's all the paperwork, tickety-boo, great. And they're like, oh no, sorry, you couldn't apply this. We didn't apply for you because you didn't meet the $500,000 revenue threshold. And I was like, shit. And they're like, yeah, so you don't get it. And so I was like, okay, cool. Well, provided if I meet it this year, can I apply? And they're like, no. And I think they were like, you can apply in 2027 in order to be eligible in 2028. But I had no idea I didn't meet that. So then that was revenue that I had anticipated coming into the business in like August, September. That didn't happen. And I was like, oh, hang on a second. So that was fine. I had intended to have a 6-figure launch for Scalable Signature Society. Well, as I have spoken about many times in my emails, on my Instagram, it was a cascading shit show in my personal life from then. So let me give you the flavor of what happened with that launch. So the first thing that happened was my daughter Chloe, who is usually fit as an ox, got influenza B and then influenza A just in the space of a couple of weeks of one another, and she was really sick. So when she had influenza B, we had one morning when she woke up and could not walk. Her legs, like she tried to get up and just crumbled to the floor, and it was, I don't know, confronting that she was kind of getting around in a bit of an army crawl, and then I obviously picked her up and was carrying her around, but her legs wouldn't work. And I knew because I had ChatGPT that it was like, no, this is just a post-inflammatory response that kids get. It usually comes right within 48 hours. It was right within 36 hours. She was right again. But she was off work for weeks from school. So together with the renovation, together with all the other things that are happening, I was like, yeah, cool. Okay, no worries. We've got this. That's fine. I always have this launch mantra that when you're launching, if your kids do not get sick, like, did you even launch? I always say one of your kids is going to puke right before your webinar. So Chloe got really sick, influenza A, influenza B, she was really sick during the launch. That is normal. That I'm completely unfazed by that. But then I hired a Facebook ads manager to support me with running the ads. She was really busy in her schedule, so she wasn't able to start the ads until a week later than I'd have ideally started. And it was right smack bang when Amy Porterfield is launching her offer and her messaging, and like the same messaging as about 3 other people. I wanted to vomit in my mouth at how same the messaging was. I hate being the same messaging as other people. I want to be unique. I want to be in a lane of my own. And I was like, oh, it just sounds so same. But we forged ahead anyway, so not ideal timing. And to give you the flavor of what that looks like when I have a similar messaging to Amy Porterfield, it's very hard to compete, because on an average month, I'm pretty sure she spends between 6 and multiple 6 figures on ads. So when she's coming up to this, which is arguably one of her biggest launches of the year, it's a multi-million-dollar launch, she's spending quite possibly $1 million on ads. So the feed is dominated by her. So, and the timing was like smack bang, especially because we had launched a week later. So that's fine. The timeline was crunched. 48 hours into running our ads and we had a Facebook ads glitch. It wasn't like an ads shutdown or, incorrect, like violated community guidelines. It was literally a glitch that shut down our ad account for nearly a week. So, fine, whatever. And Facebook themselves were like, you're just going to need to not touch your ad account for, until this comes right. Then once the ads switched on again, it was burning through my budget that was still in the testing phase. So that it wouldn't have bothered me if we were out of testing phase and just into the scaling phase of ads, but we were still in the testing phase. So there were still ads that were running that weren't very great, like ads. And it was burning through $100 an hour on our testing ads. And it was a weekend. They weren't performing super well because it was still testing. It was, again, another glitch in Meta Ads Manager. And it was, when was it? It was either Friday night or Saturday night. I want to say it was Saturday night. And my nervous system just couldn't handle it. When we run Meta Ads, I feel like it's all about calibrating to different levels of risk and investment, that I'm so fine spending $500 a day on ads, but I was not in the space in my mind to spend $2,400 in 24 hours just on testing. And that was what it was doing. It was like burning through $100 an hour. I got to 11 p.m. on Saturday night and I was like, I'm just going to have to shut it down. Because also by the time my ads manager or I could realistically, between kids, etc., make any meaningful changes, it might have burned through $5,000 plus on the ad account with ads that weren't all particularly profitable. So that was the moment when I was like, I'm just going to have to switch it off and we'll circle back to this on Monday. So we really we only got a few days in the end to really run ads towards the conversion event that we wanted. Well, then we were, when was it? The Sunday, and the waitlist opened on the Monday, and my mum had a massive brain hemorrhage. We do not know how she is still alive. She had a grade 4 for bleeding, but she had grade 1 for consciousness. But when you spoke to her, she really wasn't all with it. It nearly wasn't picked up and she nearly got sent back home. So we were so lucky that she didn't. And that was the day before the conversion event opened. And then the day of the waitlist opening, she had a massive complication and was in ICU. I'm going to get emotional now. So that entire launch, I'm so grateful that I had not chosen to run a live conversion event, because I wouldn't have been able to. And I couldn't postpone or cancel the launch because we were about to come into school holidays. And just genuinely, I don't have the capacity. And then so much of my emails, etc., were batched. So if you were receiving emails from me in that launch, and when I say I run a life first business, I mean it. Like, I wasn't at my desk. I had maybe 30 minutes per day that I could work, which was just a very quick check-in with the team, checking that emails were scheduled. Social media was dropped like a hot potato. And then she finally came, how is the timing on this? She finally came out of hospital. I think the doors closed at 8 p.m. And that morning, I was in hospital with her from 9 a.m. until nearly 7 p.m. and we were able to get her discharged. So you would have been receiving emails from me and I was like not in the room. I was so focused on my mum. A few weeks before that, my cat died. And I don't know, it's a cat. But also I rescued Abby. First I had rescued Kitty Cat and she passed away a few years ago. But Abby was the perfect pet. She had been picked up by the Cat Haven when she was about 18 months old, skin and absolute bones, nursing some kittens. She'd just been dumped. And then they put her into foster care and she sat in foster care for about 8 months. And I do not know how because she was literally the perfect pet. But while she was in foster care, she also nursed some other kittens and helped them stay alive. And that is the beauty of her nature. She was the most low maintenance, calm pet ever. She moved to this house with us and we've been in this house for 12, 13 years now. She was there with me through IVF. She was there through both of my children being born. She used to sleep in Chloe's bed every night. And then one day the cleaner was like, you just need to come and look at Abby. I don't think she's breathing well. And I raced her to the vet hospital and they were like, we're really sorry, but we can try and support her, but there's not really realistically anything we can do. So we think you need to just come and say goodbye and we will support you to let her pass. So that was very sudden and we lost her. And my kids already had like this level of trepidation about me ever going to the vet because they were sad because the way that Kitty Cat passed away was very much also the same as I took her to the vet one day and they were like, your cat is super old, like she can't hear, she can't see. And we already knew that she was really old because she would just kind of meow in the middle of nowhere because she couldn't see or hear where her kitty litter was or where the food bowl was, so she didn't know where anything was. So I took her to the vet and they were like, yeah, no, she confirming she is blind and deaf and she's, just a little bit too old now. So anyway, Abby passed away. Mum had a brain hemorrhage. Chloe had massive, double whammy of the flu. And that was the flavour of that launch. I had fully intended to have a 6-figure launch. There is a certain point in your career where you can almost like reverse engineer a launch, but I wasn't able to really pivot or show up at all for that launch. I had intended to launch pop-up masterclasses. I had intended to be live on Instagram, like really had opened up my schedule to be present, to hold calls, to do all of these things. And I just wasn't able to do any of that in that launch. So it still converted at 1.5%, which is okay, but didn't even come close to 6 figures. So that was a bit shit. Then we have, continued on. I've made big changes to the business. I had this real epiphany in the middle of the year that I was more of a bottleneck in my business than I wanted to be. And then when Mum fell really ill as well, I don't know if you've ever read, it's a book by Mike Michalowicz called Run Like Clockwork. And it kind of speaks to finding your queen bean role. Like if you have 1 or 2 roles in your business, what are they? And really you shouldn't be doing much else outside of that. So for me, I want to be the person who is showing up in my content and showing up delivering most of the services to my clients. But I really had all of these mindset reframes that I'll speak to in the next episode about the way I want my business to run. I had 3 words that I took into 2025, which was space, seamless, and simplicity. And really in the middle of the year, I was like, hang on, what would it look like for this business to run like butter and to be able to scale like butter? And the way everything that we had, I was like, it's time to grow up. It's so true. If you want what got you here won't get you there. And so I made some really aligned decisions, especially when mum was sick, that I was like, I actually think the team that got me here is not the team that is going to get me there. And so let go of the team and have been running for the last, since October. So October and November as a one-woman show. That has been so hard. There is a certain level in your business where you just can't, there's no way you're doing everything on your own. There's no going back. And so for the first time in years, I've been a one-woman show. I do not wish to repeat that ever. But in order to build the business that is going to scale and be so freaking incredible next year, it has required tough decisions. You can have the easeful business that you want when you are willing to take big risks and willing to make hard decisions and play the long game. And that is very much the headspace that I am in. So then we just had another launch. My other daughter got really sick for the first time. Again, that's fine. That is not a problem at all. But we had all of these other hiccups as well. And this is also why I'm super sad. We lost one of our friends who passed away in his sleep. And I didn't realize how sad I was about that until a couple of days after it happened. It only happened a week and a half ago, or maybe just exactly 2 weeks ago. And that has been really sad. He was only 33. We were very close to him. He worked very closely with my husband. He was my husband's apprentice. And it's a very long story, but my husband really mentored and supported him like a big brother. So he, in some ways, felt a little bit part of our family. And he passed away in his sleep with a 4-month-old baby. So that is super hard. So this year, I don't know if I would do anything differently. I'm a big believer that sometimes the lessons that we learn in personal moments of our life, lessons that need to be repeated in different contexts. So maybe you have lessons that you have learned around your fitness and your health. Maybe you have lessons that you have learned around parenting or around supporting your own parents. Maybe you have lessons that you learned in your corporate life. Maybe you have mindset lessons. I learned so many lessons when I was on my fertility journey. And it is my firm belief that, maybe you're a unicorn who carries them across automatically. But for me, it's almost like I've needed to relearn the same lessons again and again and again in all of the various contexts of my life. That then I'm like, oh, okay, this is the lesson. I should have known this because that was the exact same lesson that I learned when I went through infertility. So, when I look back at this year, I still don't think I would have re-signed in my mastermind. I still don't know that there's anything that I really would have done differently. But I am going into 2026 with a very different view of how I want to do things. And almost the last 6 months have felt like the setup, setting up everything to migrating, all of these things behind the scenes, upgrading our curriculum, being deep in these weeds of behind the scenes in order to facilitate scaling next year. I had the real perception that scaling. No, I had lots of perceptions and things that have been busted. And I'm going to speak to this much more in next week's episode. But I had this perception that beyond $250,000, and I mean, in some ways, yeah, it kind of has, but beyond $250,000, that business was like harder, that you would have to have a bigger team, that you would have to, enter a new level of hardness and complexity in your business. In some ways, yes, but mostly it's about actually having better systems in your business, reliable systems in your business, reliable team, all of these things in your business. And very much so, I'm committed to $500,000 in revenue next year. And so this has all been about upgrading the systems, upgrading the mindset, upgrading the team, upgrading all of these different things in order to be able to facilitate that. I thought it would also be about just like upgrading ad spend. And of course, there's an element of that, but literally it's all been mostly about upgrading the systems. So now that I've got like all of the hardness out, 2025 has also been a great year in so many ways. So I speak to business owners all the time. I've had so many conversations just in the last week with a lot of business owners behind the scenes. If you feel like 2025 has been a tough year, I've got two things to say to you. Number one, I guarantee so many things have worked, but in our brains, we have a negativity bias. I would love for you to sit down and just write all of the things down that have worked, whether they're even the teeniest, tiniest things, because I guarantee there has been a lot that has been working for you. But also, if things haven't worked, the answer is never to shrink away. The answer is always to rise up, to allow the universe to meet you where you are and to really look at, okay, well, what needs to happen in order for me to shift this tide, which I promise you is also super possible. So, 2025, this is the great list. The first one is, who the actual fuck did I marry? I think my husband is some kind of undercover superhero because he has literally been a superhero this year. So, number one is he has taken charge as the builder for the renovation. So, I guess in some ways I've been like the project manager. He's been the actual builder. As someone who works in construction, he has built walls. He has built a pool. We don't have a fiberglass pool, we have a brick pool. He built the pool with his own two hands. And he is exceptional at what he does. He's one of the best bricklayers probably in the country. He's exceptional. So he has just built a renovation like with his own hands alongside running his own construction company, just as you do. The middle of the year, because he is also a surfer, two girls got caught in a rip. He and another surfer saved their lives just casually, like, oh, there's two girls drowning. They were like proper drowning. And they were in this area that was like hard to get to. Oh, they just casually went and saved their lives. Delivered them to the shore where the ambulance and the police were all like by this point waiting. He got a message later, like I don't know if the lady got his phone number from the police, who obviously they had to take a report, but then he got like a message from the mum of this 13-year-old girl saying like things could have been very different, so thank you very much for that. It just casually saves girls' lives. And then, as I spoke about, our friend Dan passed away and he had a message from Dan's dad that was along the lines of like, you supported my son so deeply, if I could shake your hand in person I would, because Dan had moved to Queensland and his family were from Queensland. So imagine being the type of person that just runs your own company. On the side, you just build like a whole room and a pool and a renovation whilst saving some girls from drowning at the same time as having the father of a son who has passed message you and be like, you changed the trajectory of my son's life. The level of gratitude that I have for this man is like next level. He's so hardworking, and is like a genuinely good human being. So I think I married a superhero. Massively grateful for him. I reached the highest level of ladies that I have ever had in the mastermind. So that is super exciting. I had my best ever revenue in business, as well as my best ever salary in business, which my salary was higher than what I used to earn when I worked full-time as a marketing manager, even though I work like 15 to max 20 hours per week. So that was insane. I'm so proud of myself. We had some epic wins from our clients in the mastermind, clients replacing their revenue. So we had clients who were top sellers in other platforms that were like, I want to earn more revenue, and I think I'm capped here. They replaced that revenue. We've had clients who have had their highest ever revenue with what's felt like leads coming through on autopilot, and then being able to be like, oh, well, I've got a wait list, and then having this cascade into also growing their group programs. We have had clients who, in and through scaling their businesses, have had real full alignments of their niche, getting full clarity on exactly who they want to serve and how. We have clients who are booked out like well into the new year. And we have had many, many, many clients sell out their beta rounds. It's a really common thing that we do in the mastermind is people just sell out their beta rounds of their programs. I took a month off in the business. I took a full month off in July in the business. We went up north on a surf holiday and still had a 5-figure plus month. And I'm taking another month off at the end of the year. We got a pool in our house. Oh my, just yesterday was a 40 degrees Celsius day. I don't know what that works out in Fahrenheit, but hot. We nearly died some days last summer. Perth isn't always a particularly humid place, not like Queensland. It's more of a burny heat. And so 40 degrees with like baking sun and no wind sometimes feels like you're cooking. And so to have a pool in our backyard that is a beautiful pool, game changer. We didn't have any school issues this year. So last year and the year before was a particularly hard year with one of my daughters, which I don't like to talk about all the time, is that she's very likely neurodiverse, as am I. And there were just many times when she wouldn't go into class. So that was hard. Like I had one instance where she didn't go into class until about 11:30 in the morning. I had to cancel a massage that I'd received a voucher for, and I had to forfeit that. I had to cancel team meetings. So that level of unpredictability can be quite hard. But we didn't have any of that this year. And clap for us because we've even been using Kiss and Ride. Both of my girls have been magical this year. That doesn't mean perfect. Oh no. But there have been some things that have just worked really, really well. And part of that is all of the work that I did last year. I saw lots of people. I got lots of great support and parenting help. And we have really great boundaries in our house. And also I have the flexibility in my business that allows me to be present for my kids. So we didn't have any school drop-off issues. We did have some friendship stuff go on with my other daughter. But that really allowed her to build a lot of confidence and abilities within herself. So I was super proud of her, and I feel like that was really character building for her as well. Generally with Facebook ads, lead costs were on point, and especially my launch that I just had. The quality of leads that I had come through the funnel was really great as well. I was so thrilled with that. So great lead costs. And for the webinar that we just ran, I think I had lead costs at around, a couple of my ads were running at about $6 to $6.50. That was awesome, but also the quality. The quality was there. You can get leads for 20 cents a lead, but sometimes they're not always the best quality. So it's about that marriage between the two. and nailed it. And then we ran the batch boot camp. So in some ways, I'm not sure if batch boot camp was a bit of a distraction from a business sense, and I'll speak about that next week. But as far as programs go, it was such a highly engaged program and delivered exceptional results. So I kind of loved that program. Will we run it again? Probably not. But it was a live challenge, paid challenge that we ran that had exceptional results for our clients. So that was kind of a highlight of the year as well. So that's what didn't work, like what kind of did not hit the mark in 2025 and what also was great. But next week, I'm going to speak about 11 lessons that I learned in 2025 that I am taking into 2026. And there's also going to be an element of like things that didn't work within that episode too. So I hope you subscribe. I hope you tune in. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.